You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. The mood here is decidedly negative to disinterested. What about in Gainesville, where, if you had championship ambitions with 2 losses, that's really gone now. So what's the vibe like around the program right now?
It's interesting. I think people are very cautious with this team, and I think that the Kentucky game really just changed the whole perspective of this season, and even for some fans, this program. But I think a lot of that's to be determined by the type of year Kentucky ends up having when it's all said and done. But, even last week against Vanderbilt, the Gators get a 42-0 win, but it didn't feel like a dominant shutout victory. And, especially when you see the way that Georgia had played against Vanderbilt a couple weeks previously. So I think for Florida fans, it's been a bit of an uneasy SEC stretch for them. And I think more than anything going into this matchup, yes, on paper, it looks like this should be a win against LSU, but it looked last season like it should be a win against LSU. And I think fans maybe a little bit of leery of last year's loss and the way it played out. And I think, honestly, with this team, they've shown the ability to kind of play to the opponent's level. And they can play, playing really well against Alabama, and then some other times this year when they've, played down to their opponent's level against some non-conference teams. So I think Florida fans are a little bit cautious going into this game, wondering how the Gators are going to handle this road environment after that loss at Kentucky.
Zach, I've watched Florida play a bunch this year, and Anthony Richardson, to me, is one of the most exciting players in the conference or in all of college football. Emory Jones has had his struggles, 9 touchdowns, 7 picks. What is Dan Mullen seeing here that he sticks with Emory when there's such this enticing new toy there on the sideline?
Well, I think, honestly, we've seen it in the last couple games. No disrespect to Anthony Richardson, but, he's got in against Kentucky and against Vanderbilt and hasn't played well. And against Vanderbilt, really struggled his first series that he got in the third series. He threw an interception on his first attempt, and then the next drive he came in and went 3 and out, and then got back in the fourth quarter and didn't really do anything. And so I think it's unfortunate for him that he got that hamstring injury, had that setback, missed the opportunity, I think, to kind of keep his momentum going and get that experience, and now has kind of tried to settle back into things and find his comfort level once again, and he might not even still be 100%. So I say all that to say I think Emory, even though he's, maybe limited in some areas and still has a lot of development to do in his own right, he's still further along in terms of being able to operate the offense and handle, especially, I think, a road environment, because he's just seen several of them at this point. So that's really what separates them. I think certainly the ceiling is higher with Richardson, but he's still got a long ways to go, and I think he might have been further along at this point and maybe be able to push for more playing time had it not been for that hamstring injury.
Zach Abolverdi is our guest, Gainesville Sun. He's on Twitter at Zach Abolverdi. Give him a follow. The running game is what it is, man. I mean, they're third in the country, almost 280 yards a game. LSU is going to be without Elias Ricks and Derek Stingley in this ball game. Is Florida just going to stick to the run, or do they have an opportunity to make some plays in the passing game?
Yeah, I talked about that on my podcast. I think that obviously they're going to try to establish the run in every single game because that's just who they are. That's what they do. That's their identity offensively. Having said that, when you are able to run the ball and you force teams to kind of stack the box, you're going to set yourself up potentially for some shots. And because the Tigers are down in the secondary, this could be an opportunity to maybe test some young defensive backs down the field. And look, Florida's, they've got weapons in the receiving corps. They just haven't been used as much. And I also think Emory's, certainly not going to be able to stretch the field or challenge teams like the way Kyle Trask could. But If Florida is able to establish that run, I think they're going to look to do that first. But it is something that I think Tigers will be wary of because last week against Vanderbilt, they really tried to push the ball down the field a couple times because certainly they felt like they could against the Commodores, and maybe they'll like some matchups potentially on Saturday that they can take some more.
And we know guys like Kadarius Toney and Kyle Pitts are in the NFL. Who are the receiving options fans are going to be on the lookout for Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, Jacob Copeland is certainly a guy that came into this season with a lot of expectations. Justin Shorter, a guy probably hasn't produced as much, but is been involved obviously in the rotation starting. Trent Whittemore, I think, has come along as of late. Local product from Gainesville is kind of different than what we usually see from Dan Mullen in the slot, which is usually a speedy kind of change of pace guy like a Percy Harvin or Kadarius Toney. I mean, Trent Whittemore is this big, 6'4", kind of jump out the gym type athlete, and so he's a bit of a different mismatch there that they try to exploit. And then Rick Wells is another guy at that slot position that they like to use a lot. So those are kind of their main pieces. They have some younger players that have emerged, like Jaquavion Fraziers and Xavier Henderson, 2 sophomores. So they've recruited well. They got some guys. It's just like you mentioned with their rushing attack. That's just been their bread and butter so far this year.
Zach, let's flip it over. Talk a little defense. Last year, Florida and LSU were so similar that they just had uncharacteristically bad defenses. Todd Grantham obviously was retained. How much better is this defense than the unit a year ago?
I mean, honestly, you got to give him and his staff credit because not only have they been better, but they had the potential to have some significant struggles because of the injuries that they've had. And, when you go into an off season where you lost 4 starters in the secondary, and you were ranked 100th nationally in pass defense, and you replaced both of your position coaches in the secondary. Just everything is brand new there. And then you get into the season and you lose both of your starting cornerbacks. Now, Kyrie Elam is supposed to be back on Saturday, but they've been without him and Jaden Hill, who had a torn ACL. And then against USF, Florida lost Ventrell Miller, their leading tackler from last year, right before the Alabama game. So with injuries like that, honestly, it might have been a little understandable if Florida maybe didn't make the improvements that they needed to show or that people wanted to see. But they actually have. Their secondary is ranked, I think, 44th nationally right now in pass defense after being 100th a year ago. And right now they're ranked second in the SEC and 15th nationally in scoring defense. In the last 15 quarters, they've only given up 37 points in SEC play. So that's pretty good. I also don't think, to be honest, that they've honestly seen the offenses and the quarterbacks that they played last year, like a Matt Corral and certainly Mac Jones. So that's also factored into it. But, hey, they're going to be tested once again on Saturday because Max Johnson came into the swamp last year and his first career start and did a really good job carving up that secondary.
Is there a weakness on that defense? Is the weakness in the secondary even if Elam's back?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, because they are so young, they are so inexperienced. When Trevez Johnson went out of the game in the first half last weekend, their starting nickel, they were starting 2 freshman corners and then a transfer that's come in and has really never played in the SEC, and then their 2 starting safeties. So they're young there, but they've been playing well. So I think the thing that they've struggled with the most as a defense as a whole is tackling. Tackling has been the one issue for them. They've given up some explosive plays as a unit, and it really hasn't been a lot of explosive plays over their head. It's been explosive plays where they've missed tackles and allow guys to break big games.
Zach, what do you feel about the all orange uniforms, man?
It's not
all
orange.
It's
funny. It's not
like
my
how
favorite
fresh.
look.
How fresh were the throwbacks last week, man? They look so good, and what a contrast to this gaudy pile of mess. What is this?
I know, man. It's not my favorite. The players like it. I saw some player like Jacob Copeland tweeted today that he's been waiting to wear this uniform combo his entire UF career. So this, I think, is the first time that they've worn this under Dan Mullen. And, usually the Gators and fans like to see them in their all blue when they go to Baton Rouge. So, but hey, I mean, the last time you wore all orange there, it worked out. So maybe they're just figuring, let's try it again.
That was 2016. The game that was affected, or 2017, excuse me, the game was affected by Hurricane Matthew. And no, I guess it was 16, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
16.
16. Yep,
16, the game that was impacted by Matthew, and of course was moved to later in the schedule, and Geis went the wrong way, and everybody remembers all that happened there. So not a great memory here, but there go the Gators being all orange. Hey, before you go, last thing, let's talk a little bit about special teams. I'm not sure that this game comes down to special teams, but it feels like if LSU is going to have a shot, they're going to have to get some turnovers, maybe make some plays in the third phase. So how's Florida there in the third phase?
Yeah, I mean, they've been inconsistent, no doubt about it. I mean, there are 2 losses this season that you could really put on special teams. Missing an extra point against Alabama that forced you to go for 2 at the end of the game, and then you botched the 2-point conversion. And then in the loss to Kentucky, they had a block kick return for a touchdown. They lost 2013. So special teams have kind of bit the Gators a couple times. The good thing is they seem to have settled on a kicker that they got from Mississippi State, Jace Chrisman, who used to kick for Mullen with the Bulldogs. So, but really, I mean, Florida hasn't been able to do much in the return game. Xavier Henderson's their punt returner, but that's one area where Florida's just kind of been inconsistent. They've had a couple moments. But that is an area I think for if you're LSU looking to try and make a play or at least gain some momentum, that's it. That's the area, and we know in this rivalry there's always been some crazy special teams plays along the years.
That has certainly happened, from Les Miles flipping a ball over his head to all the craziness that we've seen. The kickoff return against in that 2016 game, which kind of is what sparked it.
And then I forget. I think it was, I guess it was 2011 that it was the fake punt for a touchdown.
The fake punt, yeah. Oh, that was Brad Wing, wasn't it? Doing the fake into the end zone, which got called back because he taunted going into the end zone. You're right. There has been a long history of very weird plays, but. A series that certainly has a lot of organic angst built into it, man, and sometimes those are the best ones. All right, Zach's on Twitter at Zach Abolverdi. Give him a follow, Z-A-C-H, Abolverdi, spelled like it sounds. Y'all give him a follow, Gainesville Sun. Zach, we appreciate it, man. Thanks as always for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely, Matt. Good to hear from you again as always, and I look forward to seeing you Saturday. Bro.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. We'll see you. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.